Hello there, welcome to a double bill. We're going to do two John Frankenheimer movies from the late 70s and early 80s. We're going to Black Sunday, which was a terrorist thriller starring Robert Shaw, and then we're going into the film The Challenge, which starred Scott Glenn and Toshiro Mifune, and was co-written by John Sayles, and it's one of those American and Japan films. There's going to be two of those this week. There's another one coming up for tomorrow's video too. These are made after Frankenheimer had his peak. This is when he admitted he was having a drinking problem, and some of the projects didn't turn out well. And the idea of it all was The Prophecy, which was a film he made in the late 70s. This is the film that appeared between these two, which is the one that has actually a decent Blu-ray release from Master Cinema, when these two haven't, and these are the better films. But Prophecy's a mess. The Prophecy is one of those disastrous movies where Frankenheimer admitted he was drunk. Drinking was a problem at that point, and the film didn't turn out as well as it should because of that. It had fake-looking bears. It had terrible casting. It had a terrible script. It was one of those ones that's like, as soon as you hear director with a drinking problem, it explains so much of that film. It was like it was a mess. It's an enjoyable mess, but it's a mess. It's in no way a good film. It's no way as bad as Alan and Dr. Moreau, which Frankenheimer made later. He should not touch certain types of monster movies. He's not good at them. And I'm a Frankenheimer fan. I did a video on Grand Prix recently as well. But these two are good films. They're both overlong. Both of them should lose 20 minutes. But they're still good films. Now, Black Sunday is based on a book by Thomas Harris, which is a terrific book. Thomas Harris wrote the Hannibal Lecter books with Red Dragon, Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal Rising. He's a terrific writer. He doesn't write that often. Apparently he finds it difficult to write. This is his first book he wrote, so it wasn't full on Thomas Harris yet. He was still working it out. But there's a lot of stuff that would go further on to his other books. But the idea is Palestinian terrorists get a hold of this guy who was a POW during the war. He's gone a bit mad because he was because of a video he'd made under duress. He was stripped of his all his titles, and now he's just viewed as a failure by everybody. And so he's got a job flying the Goodyear blimp for the sports games, and he's in problems keeping his temper, and he wants to destroy everybody. He just hates everybody, and the Palestinians find him and they set him up to fly the Goodyear blimp over the stadium during the Super Bowl and blow up the blimp and kill everybody. That's the basic premise, and the story is of Robert Shaw playing a Israeli commander who's viewed as a bit of a psycho himself, and he's the guy who has to hunt him down through America and stop this thing from happening. Even though most of the film they don't know what the plot is, they'll just try and work it out. Well, that's the suspense of the story. The big thing the film's going for is Bruce Dern as a villain. Bruce Dern's a terrific villain. He generally shows the craziness of this character without overdoing it. Just a sense of someone you'd see, you think they're a bit eccentric. I don't want to go for a drink with it after work or anything, but as long as they can do their job fine. He just suggests crazy without being too far crazy. Just like someone who's a bit intense and a bit work focused and that kind of thing. But also enough when you see him in alone, you can see him how crazy he actually is. You've also got Robert Shaw as the guy hunting him down. I mean, the good thing about Shaw is Shaw does not need to be liked in any film. He's played villains, he's played heroes. Even when he plays a hero, he doesn't need to be liked. So you've got that, and he's unrelenting. He knows something bad's coming, but he doesn't know what it is, and it's the plot is him trying to figure it out. All of that's good. The problem with the film, though, is that stuff goes on too long. In the book, it feels a lot quicker paced. But in the film, they need to lose a couple of bits just to get to the point, and they don't, and it just becomes this thing of, it takes a long time to get to the point where the excitement happens. When excitement happens, it is really good. I mean, when you get to Goodyear blimp stuff, when they're going over the Super Bowl and the blimp, because they shot it there, it looks amazing. I mean, I watched the projector, it looks amazing. Just the amount of money they spent on that was stunning, and all the chases with it, as they realise the blimp's the thing they're going to use, they're trying to blow it up and things, it's just terrific. There's just tons of, anytime, as soon as we get into the point where the blimp really appears as a threat, the film's gold, the film's just great. It just takes them too long to get there. And there are good sequences in there, them trying to deal with importers, trying to find out what they're doing, trying to deal with assassins, and trying to deal with this Palestinian woman who's the controller of Bruce Dern's character, who's also out to kill Robert Shaw. That stuff's all good, but it just takes too long to get there. And it's like one of those things, like, the studio should have just said, look, you've got to cut down a little bit more. It's almost there. It's like, it's almost there, but it just takes too long to get to places. And you really wish they'd found a way to really get it spare as possible. Because the film didn't do that well when it was released. And I think a lot of it was to do with the pacing. I think it's like it was a controversial subject to Palestinians blowing up the Super Bowl. But I think probably the word of mouth would be like, it's too long. And watching TV, which means you'll miss the best stuff, which is the stuff with the blimp. The blimp stuff's great. But the stuff getting there, it just is too, it is the sign of a director who has been left to his own devices. That's the thing with Frankenheimer. Very good technician, but if you look at Grand Prix or The Train, they're two good films. They both of them are too long as well, and it's like, you never seem to have, he seemed to be indulged in certain movies and did not cut stuff he should have cut. And this film was one of them. It's just like, you need to lose some time. The same thing happened in French Connection 2. French Connection 2 is a good film, but I mean a better film 10 minutes shorter, because there's a lot of really good stuff, but you feel there's bits of padding that could have been taken out by one final pass, which I don't think Frankenheimer liked doing, and it's the kind of flaw in his later career where everything's too long, everything's been left too long, and that final cut just isn't there. I mean, it really needs it. But it's still a film I enjoy. I've seen this quite a few times. It just needed to be kicked up a gear because everyone else was doing their job. And Frankenheimer did a good job with the script and story. It's just like, it just needed a bit more cut out. But you can get it in streaming. I would recommend watching it. iTunes has it in HD. It's a very good film. Very enjoyable, but it needs to be cut down a little bit. Now we have The Challenge, which was made in the early 80s. This was after The Prophecy, and Frankenheimer was now trying to get himself back on the good terms with everybody after his drinking had got out of control. This is a film where I heard he was still drinking a bit, but he was trying to, he'd seen he had a problem at this point, so he's trying to get his career back in the go. But so this was actually a good film. It's underrated though. It's one of those films that gets a bad reaction by lots of people, but it's like, it's pretty good for what it is. I mean, it's a film I like because a guy goes to Japan and has to learn how not to be a dick, really. There's been so many films, I like them all. I'm a sucker for this kind of film. I love Japanese films, but dumb American going to Japan and getting his ass kicked a lot never fails to amuse me. So you've had the Yakuza with Mitchum, you had this one, then you had Black Rain, which is probably one of the weaker ones because Michael Douglas' character is a bit too egotistical even by the end. It really did not like the idea of Americans learning from Japanese. You know, and it keeps going. There's like direct-to-video movies like that as well. It's like, it's a genre in itself. I say I'll get to another one like this. Like in my next video too. But it's a nice genre conceit. And this is a good version of it because John Sayles came in. It was meant to take place in China. They changed it to Japan late in the day. John Sayles was brought in to turn it to Japan and rewrite the script, and he was rewriting it as they were waiting to get the green light to make the film. and I think a lot of it was shooting as well, I think. But he was writing it really quick and doing a second draft really quick. So this was this was written pretty much in weeks, not months. And it's based on a property, and so they needed to get it. So it's based on a story that had already been outlined. So I think he was basically working on that and making it work for the genre. And there was a story of Toshiro Mifune saying to Scott Glenn, when he realised the film wasn't quite going the way he hoped, because Mifune had already worked with Frankenheimer on Grand Prix, but he didn't think it was going the way he hoped. So he said, well, you have either choices to Scott Glenn, because this is Scott Glenn's first big action job. You can either accept you can either look at it and get angry at the way things are going, they're not going quite the way you'd hoped, or you can enjoy your time in Japan with me as your guide to Japan and see Japan and don't worry about it. So I think that's what Scott Glenn did. Which explains why those two seem to get on really well in the film, even though they're meant to be odds a lot of time. Because there's a nice interaction between them in the film. And the feeling is like, everyone knows this is a cliched plot. And like everyone knows the flaws of the film as they're making it. So they're just trying to get by in little bits of business. Which means they can enjoy Scott Glenn's character being a doofus the first half of the movie. Like, he thinks he knows a lot because he's a boxer. He goes there, gets his ass kicked completely, continuously for the first half of the movie. He doesn't understand the culture, he can't speak Japanese. And because John Sayles is writing it, it makes it interesting and not in a... Yeah, the guy's an idiot because he doesn't understand our culture, but he's not so much of an idiot you can't understand what he's going through. It's like, he's an idiot the same way that a lot of people have been idiots if they went to that culture. You know, he's not doing anything really daft, but he does deserve the ass kicking he's getting. And it's kind of the idea of his growth through the time and realising there's other ways to approach life rather than his way, which isn't working for him very well. Because he's this boxer, has been boxer, who's not really got a future. When he goes to Japan, he actually learns, he's helping them take this sword into the country. And the swords are one of contention between Mifune and his brother, and the whole plot's about these two swords. And it's just the idea is, yeah, that's a slight premise for the movie, but let's take the characters and focus on those characters rather than getting too bound up with the plot. That's the basically the thing is. And that's what really works about the film is Mifune's character is about out of date and he knows it, but Mifune plays it really well because he understands limitations. It also helps with Scott Glenn's a good actor. He can take a part that's not particularly fleshed out and give it a lot of detail. So he managed to bring amusement to it and self-amusement. And he has a nice little set of scenes with a little kid who wants to be a warrior as well. So him and the little kid have nice scenes. And it's good because the kid's not annoying. The kid's fun, enjoyable. You get his point of view. And there's all these little scenes that work. It's like, even though the main plot is kind of generic, all the little scenes work in it and it actually delivers. I mean, the only real problem with the plot is when the plot comes back in at the end, where it's like, we're having this plot and it's bobbling along fine, and it's really about Scott Glenn's character learning some self-worth. Very cliched, but it works because it's well written, it's been well directed, it's been well acted. It's never going to be the film of the year, but it works for a Friday night film made by people who are professional. You know. But they're lumbered with this plot that doesn't really elevate anything. But they're doing their best what they can and they're doing a good job with it. And then the end comes in where Mifune has to go and take down his brother in this big building. And it comes from a different movie altogether. It's a fun movie, but it's a more ridiculous movie. It's almost like it becomes like Rambo in Japan with like arrows and sword fights and stuff in a building with people with guns, and Scott Glenn and Mifune's going to take them out silently bit by bit, and these guys are running around until they get to the top level and they do the fight with the brother. The Mifune does a bit of it and Glenn does a bit of it, and it's fun, it's enjoyable, and it has a really gruesome finale which is enjoyably brutal. The film is enjoyably brutal for the whole way through. I mean, Frankenheimer doesn't cut away from the violence, but it's kind of comic-y as well. So there's a sense of humour about it. And it does come from another movie, but it's still enjoyable. I think it cheapens what they've done. I think the film was doing well until then, but it does cheapen it. I think I would have done better with a different ending, but it works for what it was. It's well done for being a silly ending. But you're feeling that was the ending they were stuck with. That was the ending that was going to be the ending when Sales came in, because I don't think Sales would have written this scene by himself as an ending. I think he was like, you have to, this is what we're doing, you have to find a way around this ending, and maybe we wait the ending to do it better, but there's only so much you can do with this. And Sales does a good job with it, and Frankenheimer does a good job with it, but it's still silly. But this is just an enjoyable film. This is a throwback 80s film, you know, not one of the best ones, but it's made by professionals who know what they're doing, and you can just enjoy it in that level. Enjoy the actors. One or two of the supporting actors aren't that good. Like the leading lady's not that good in some scenes. Some scenes she is, and other scenes she's not, and it's like weird. I don't know why there's. Maybe it's a case of in some scenes she had decent stuff to do, in other scenes she was a bit lost. I don't know, but she goes from good to bad a lot in this film. But it is a genuinely enjoyable film. It's a film I'll plan on watching plenty of times, because it is a kind of Saturday night, Friday night movie that delivers because you can enjoy the actors doing their job, enjoy the direction and writing, even within a very basic genre constraint. So this actually shows that even when Frankenheimer wasn't at his best, he could still deliver some good stuff. There's also the 52 Pickup, which is also came after this, that he did with Roy Scheider, which is also another good one that has its problems, but it's an enjoyable little genre movie. You know, Frankenheimer did quite a few of these in the 80s, and it was like, he still had the talent, you know. He was still doing good stuff even when he was not getting the best material. But you give him something half decent, he would do something good with it. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope this gets you interested in the films. You can catch both of them on iTunes. And use, I mean, I got them fairly cheap, so they won't cost you much in HD. So you can get them. I think you can get the Challenging Region 1 Blu-ray as well. But if you get it for a $5 on iTunes, I'd say go that direction. It's not that great, but it's still enjoyable. Right, that's me for now. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll be back with one final video, which is going to be a, you know, what the hell is this? So I'll see you later. Right, bye.